name's Kirstie Kwarteng, and I am the founder and executive director of the Amma Project. I am Ghanaian American. I grew up in the greater Washington, D.C. area to Ghanaian parents, and in this area there's a very large Ghanaian community. So while, outside of my house was America, inside of my house was Ghana. Now, in addition to my parents and my sister, my maternal grandmother lived with us till I was about 12. We went to a Ghanaian church, and a lot of our family friends were Ghanaian. We have family in the area. All of that really instilled a sense of being Ghanaian in me, even though I was born and raised in America. And going to functions, at church, you would hear people talking about Jerry Rawlings because he was the president at the time. People talking about Ghana's past, hearing the name Kwame Nkrumah. And so from that, I knew a little bit about Ghana's history, but not a whole lot because I didn't learn it in school. I learned American history because I live in America. But when I would go to Ghana on family trips, I would ask my aunts, my uncles, older relatives, what they remembered about growing up in the Gold Coast or growing up in newly independent Ghana, if they ever heard Kwame Nkrumah speak, and where they were when Ghana became an independent nation, or where they were when Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown, if they remember that. I was so fascinated by their stories. Hearing about under Nkrumah, it was a little hard to find milk towards the end of his rule, or hearing how everybody was so excited on March 6, 1957, and how everybody was happy that Ghana got its freedom. I thought it was really cool to hear these stories. Unfortunately, some of the family members that I would ask these questions to started passing away. The main death that really kind of spurred my interest in starting the Amma Project was the death of my maternal grandmother, the one who lived with me when I was a kid. She died in 2007, and when she died, she was 96. And Ghana had just turned 50 in 2007. Born in 1911 to 1957, just all of the stories that she had that went with her when she passed. But I know it's not, my grandmother isn't the only one. There's plenty of other people who have lost relatives who can remember so much of Ghana's history because they lived through it. So that's why I started the Amma Project. I felt it's important for us to capture the memories and the history of this generation while we still have this generation here to tell it to us, because if we as Ghanaians don't do it, who's going to do it for us? It's our history. So the word Nana is the Cree word for grandparent, and it represents the stories that we learn from our grandparents, older aunts and uncles, just from our elders in general, and the stories that they pass down to us. And the mission of the Amma Project is to preserve, archive, and share first-hand accounts of Ghana's history. So the main thing I hope to accomplish is to have everyone, Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians alike, to really learn and really understand the importance of Ghana and its history, not just on the African continent, but in regards to the world. Ghana was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain its independence, and with that, it started the trend of all the other African countries gaining its independence. And not only that, but Ghanaians have made a huge impact in the world. For example, Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he coined the word neo-colonial. Anyone that is in international development, if you're studying development economics, he's the creator of that word. If you're in that field, you use that word all the time, and that word came from him. Another thing I hope to get out of this project is encouraging people to ask their parents, ask their grandparents, their different relatives about what they remember about Ghana's history and where they were when different events in Ghana happened. Because whether you're in America like myself, or you're in London, or even if you're in Ghana, your personal history is directly tied to Ghana's history in some way. For me, learning about my family's personal history and seeing how it connects to Ghana makes me more sure of myself, because I know exactly where I'm from. I know my personal story. Without knowing your history, you can't really know yourself. So it's important for everybody to know how their personal history directly ties to Ghana's history. Because it's not something that you will learn at school. I remember when I was in the 9th grade, there was like a brief mention to the Ashanti Empire in my world history class, and that was about it. You have Ghana blood. Yes, you were born in America, Britain, Germany, Canada, wherever, but you're still a Ghanaian, at least in my opinion. So it's important for you to know your history. There's nothing wrong with knowing the history of the country that you're living in. I think that's fine, but you also need to know your homeland. Like, if you're the first person born and raised outside of Ghana, that means the rest of your family is back there. You need to know what happened and how what happens back then is influencing what's going on now. This is important not just for people who were born and raised in the diaspora. It's important for people who were born and raised in Ghana. My parents, from watching the videos, they've learned things that they didn't really remember or they didn't really know because they were too young to remember. So this project, it's great for people who were born and raised outside of Ghana to learn more about Ghana, but it's also, I think it's a great project for all Ghanaians or for anyone who's interested in Ghana's history. So to contribute to the Nana Project, you can follow us on our social media accounts, and you can send us a message on there with a video or an old photo that you have of people back in Ghana, and send us the names, the year that the photo took place, where they were, and just a short paragraph on what's going on in the story, just so people can have an idea of what's going on. Now, the biggest way that you can contribute to the Nana Project is to complete a Nana Project do-it-yourself interview, and we really want the Nana projects to be collaborative. We can't go to all 10 regions of Ghana. We can't go to every country that has a large Ghanaian diaspora population. So that's why we need you, and we want you to help us out by interviewing your grandma, interviewing Uncle Yao, Uncle Ato, whoever you can find who would be willing to share their story for the archive. And you can send us an email at stories@thenanaproject.org, and we will send you an information packet that will tell you what you need to conduct the interview and how you can send us the interview. And to find out more about the Nana Project, you can go to thenanaproject.org. Please share your stories with us because we do want to archive as much of Ghana's history as we can. It's very important. Our history, our stories.
Nana